Okay, so in this model, we're going to be talking about growth hacking. I've thrown that word around a lot, but we haven't really defined it yet. So first, let's define what growth hacking is. So growth hacking is a process by which startups find channels for acquiring customers rapidly. Let's break that down into several sections. So we already know what a startup is. We discussed their channels for growth in a different section. And so how are we going to find more customers and get them to use our services really quickly, right? So what does growth hacking look like in real life? I'm going to show you 3 charts. This is what growth hacking looks like in real life. So you go from having 0.02 million customers to 80 million customers in, 7 years? You have this hockey stick of growth where it looks like you're doubling your growth every X amount of time. Like you're just going from 1 million to 700 million. This is for Instagram. Facebook went from less than a million to 2 billion users from 2004 to 2017. You can again see this kind of hockey stick of growth where it just slopes up and starts shooting into the sky, and everybody wants that. This is what everybody's looking for. But how do they achieve that? They achieve it by growth hacking. And basically, like, hacking is circumventing a system, right? So growth hacking is a way to circumvent the normal traditional ways of acquiring so that you can do it really, really quickly, faster than what anybody can kind of keep up with. So what's the best growth hack in the world, right? Sad thing is, there isn't really one technique that will guarantee success. But we can look at some of the strategies that other companies use to grow quickly, right? So let's look at Hotmail. This is perhaps my favorite, right? So when they sold to Microsoft, just 1.5 years after launch, they had 12 million users. In 18 months, they had 12 million users, and they were only 70 million internet users at the time, right? So let's do 12 divided by 70. That's 17% of the entire internet. That's huge. Very few people can say that they had that kind of growth in that short amount of time. 18 months is very short. And how did they do it? So basically, when they first launched, they were giving away emails for free to like university professors and things like that. And people were using it and they kind of loved it. And then they went to their investors and they wanted to scale. And they were like, you know what, we're going to get billboards, we're going to do all kinds of ads, and we're going to spend all this money. And then one investor was just like, you know what, maybe you shouldn't do that. Just at the end of every email, just add get your free email at Hotmail and a link to how to sign up. And they were, at first, not everybody was convinced. People were like, oh, privacy, emails are private. You know, how can we stick marketing into emails? In retrospect, like, that seems ridiculous now, right? Marketing in emails. But at the end of the day, they were really struggling to acquire new users, and then boom, they did it, and their growth just took off. They were acquiring users left, right, and center because everybody who got their email could then get their own, who got an email could get their own personal email, right? So it was a brilliant strategy, and it's one of my favorite growth hacks of the time, especially for when it was. This was very early in the internet, right? The next growth hack I'm going to talk about is PayPal. So PayPal did something that is kind of borderline sneaky. At the time, eBay, they already had their existing platform, eBay, which allowed people to trade, kind of sell things online, right? So you could sell new, you could sell used, you could sell anything you had in your house to anyone. And so they used this platform and they developed a bot that would just go around buying people's things using PayPal. And the more merchants would see that people were paying them with PayPal, they wanted to sign up with PayPal so they could receive money, because it created trust between the buyers and sellers, you know, and lots of people were using it. And that bandwagon effect just helped snowball them into the success. The other thing that they did was they actually offered money. So I think it was $20 or $25 to when you referred someone to PayPal, right? Which is very powerful. Now it seems normal because Uber is doing it, and PayPal doesn't do it anymore, but a lot of people are trying to use this model. And it was a very, very expensive thing to do. Elon Musk, who's one of the founders of PayPal, can be quoted at some point saying that it cost them like $60 million. So be careful if you want to use that strategy, unless you have an extra $60 million lying around the house. But it's effective. It works. People like giving and receiving money, right? So they use their existing platform and they use referral bonuses to get other people to talk. So if I want to earn an extra $100, all I have to do is tell 5 people about PayPal, and boom, I have my network. The next company I want to talk to, I want to bring it local because I love doing that. Paystack. I'm going to always talk about Paystack. One of the things that Paystack did was they really identified who in the audience was Paystack was for. So they realized that the people who were implementing payments on websites were almost all developers, right, at the time. So they very specifically, when they launched, targeted developers. They would attend community functions, like really embed themselves in the tech community and target them specifically with language they can understand and things that will make their life better. Say, hey, instead of going to another company and spending months trying to implement their system just to create a WordPress website that somebody's paying you, $100K for, use Paystack. It's absolutely free and it will take you minutes to integrate. And that just revolutionized it. And then from there, they could then go to a wider audience and say, hey, even if you don't have a developer, we can help you. And that's kind of how their growth kind of picked up. Now, another example is 737. A lot of people think I'm going to use the 737 song, which is very catchy, but it's not a growth hack. That's marketing, right? What GT did that was brilliant was leverage their existing user base. So they set up this food and drink festival, which has become one of the largest in the country. And they basically said, we're going to enroll all the merchants in 737. We're going to invite all our customers, and each merchant is going to have a little stand that will show people how to pay, and they'll realize it's so much faster and better than using a POS. And it doesn't matter if there's network or not. You'll get the transfer, the merchant will get it into their account instantly instead of having to wait the next day. And it was just, to me, it was just brilliant because they went from very few users to an entire population using it and introducing a bunch of people who didn't know all the other things that they could do, because then they were like, hey, oh, I paid this merchant and then I'm seeing an option to buy credit. I would buy credit every week or every day or every month. And this is easier than trying to find a recharge card, right? Or even buying it online. And to me, it was just really, really brilliant way. It was a really brilliant way to expose a large mass of people to their product. Now, GT could do this because they already had this huge user base. Most people won't have that. But remember, the key thing to think about here is use what you already have to stretch out. So if you have maybe a huge Instagram following, you can leverage that. If you are very dynamic in your community, you can leverage that. Don't forget that use what you have to get what you want, right? So in summary, I'm just going to say there are so many techniques. We've discussed referrals. We've discussed embedding your product to make it sticky by putting it in using your product the way Hotmail did. We've talked about referral bonuses like eBay did. We've talked about leveraging your existing platforms like PayPal and GT Bank did. We've talked about going after a really small but specific community, making them huge users, and then using that to kind of snowball your growth. There are lots of different techniques. You have to find your own. That's a problem with growth hacking, is that you have to be very specific about how to find your own. So that's the end of module 2. In the next module, I'm going to go through some of the techniques that you can actually use to create your own growth hack and kind of figure out how you can grow quicker and what kind of techniques you can use at each stage and how to come up with your own. So stick around for the next module.